Okay, I think we're live on all platforms here. 1 second. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Ding, 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 ding. All right, we're live. We'll wait for a couple viewers trickle in on this joyous Tuesday here in the United Corporations of America. I got the right guy to explain fact and fiction in the new Biden administration, which unfortunately for Rudy Giuliani and many others is going to happen, it seems. Smash that like button. We already got about 50 people watching, so keep smashing that like button. We are on our march. We are on our march to 100,000 subscribers. Steve, it seems like just yesterday, you and I were talking, and we were being suppressed on YouTube. We still are, but we're finally making some movement to getting out of YouTube's cave. So it's very positive. And of course, if you don't know Steve, Real Progressives, he's the co-founder and does great work there. Steve, how you been?
I've been good, man. Thank you very much for having me on, brother. And congratulations on breaking through the glass ceiling of YouTube, man.
Well, while they still allow us on, yes, very, very, very good. Please smash the like button. Share this with as many people as you can. Also, definitely, if you didn't watch the show yesterday, check out the last video we published. Headline, simply, "We got hacked." I don't even know if you know this. We just found out our website was hacked. So we have been hemorrhaging paid members, which, as you know, is kind of the lifeblood of any indie media outlet. We've lost a hell of a lot of members since COVID in March. We thought it was simply due to the economy, but we learned a few days ago that we were actually maliciously hacked, not just like a rando hacker, but we were actually targeted, and there was over 100 viruses in our backend. So we have a web developer right now cleaning up our website, and we have instructed people to check. You might think you're a member to Status Coup, but we're starting to realize a lot of people were incorrectly made inactive. So I'll re-explain that later. But let's get right to it, Steve. And so, you know, the brunch crowd is joyous. You got Biden coming in. We're starting to see announcements today of people he is putting in his administration. One that stuck out to me was Mike Donnellan as his senior advisor. This guy is a Democratic Party lifer, corporate Democratic Party lifer, I should say. He has worked on the campaigns of progressive stalwarts like Joe Lieberman, Chris Dodd, Al Gore, John Kerry, John Corzine. So gives you kind of an idea. His senior advisor has worked on every neoliberal, pro-capitalist, military-industrial complex, neoliberal campaign of the last probably 30 years. We also see he's bringing on Cedric Richmond. He's a Louisiana Louisiana congressman, who I believe takes, out of all congressmen, the most money from oil and gas down there in Louisiana. He is putting Cedric Richmond in as the liaison between business and environmentalists. You can't make this up. The guy who who makes the most money in donations from big oil. And, you know, there's some other fillers. We don't have to go through the whole list. But basically, your generic Chamber of Commerce, corporate Democrats. As of now, I don't see any Bernie people. I don't even see any Warren people. So we'll get to that in a bit. But I wanted to ask you, because Biden gave this big economic speech yesterday. Essentially, the speech was heavy on Pass the Heroes Act, which was Pelosi and the Democrats' proposal about 6-7 months ago. The original Heroes Act was $3 trillion. Extension of unemployment. Think about I think nearly $1 trillion to go to state and local governments, which I actually have an issue with. All economists say that's wonderful, but when you read the fine print, Steve, as you know, a lot of times they say money's going to states and cities, and somehow it gets redirected to donors, nonprofits, real estate developers, and whatnot. But on first blush, President-elect Biden, his economic plan seems to be pass the HEROES Act, nothing about expanding health care, and I'm not hearing anything about direct stimulus or anything like that. Should people be excited and, the rescue choppers are coming if you're in economic despair?
Now, if I had my druthers, I would have you run the clip of our last interview where I basically say this Biden administration is going to be a Republican administration through and through, basically. And he's going to be a more effective Republican than Trump was. That's the problem. And his advisors are stacking up to be nothing. There's nothing surprising to me at all about this. This is what Joe Biden is. This is what they are. I will tell you, the HEROES Act, the original one, was over $3 trillion. It was still not good enough then. It's now down to $2.2 trillion, and it's still not good enough. Trump administration and their lame duck is offering up $1.6 trillion in stimulus, and it's Republicanized, of course. So no, none of this is anything good. Anything is better than nothing, let's be clear, but it's not good. It's not anything to be excited about, and it's most definitely indicative of what's going to happen over the next however long Biden stays in office, coupled with if Harris takes over or anything else like that. It's going to be much ado about nothing. There are no progressives in that lineup whatsoever. And again, Biden has done nothing whatsoever to let anyone believe that he is in fact going to be a progressive. He's not a progressive, has never been a progressive. And, there's an Intercept article going back a ways where they talked about how, Biden pushed Reagan to the right to try to be even harder on crime. So, there's absolutely nothing anyone will tell me about Biden that will be shocking in the least. To be honest with you, if we get any stimulus out of this, if we get any kind of relief, it'll be a minor miracle.
So
it'll be a minor.
Couple PSAs. Remember, smash that like button. Already got over 200 watching. Smash the like button. Thumbs up right under the video. Helps get the audience up. Also, this is a super chat, so keep them coming. Thank you very much. John, $5. Thanks for having Steve on. What they're doing over there at Real Progressives is nothing short of amazing. Thanks, Status Coup. Love you guys. I agree. They're a scrappy bunch over at Real Progressives. Where can people find Real Progressives, Steve?
So we're at www.realprogressives.org. And you can find our podcast, which is our flagship right now, which is Macro, the letter N, cheese. So you can find us over there. We're on Facebook and we're on YouTube under Real Progress in Action and our sister channel, which is Real Progressives.
Yeah, so we'll go back over that later when we have a higher audience. Also, homework. Status Coup, if you're on our email list, which you should be, check your email right now because Jen just sent you a critically important email. If you don't see it, check your spam. We just sent you an email explaining that we were hacked. If you missed the show yesterday, that explaining we believe that hack has led to potentially over between 300 and 400 purged members, meaning members that were made inactive. They didn't cancel, but their payments didn't go through. As I explained yesterday, your financial information is 100% safe, but the hack led to a lot of viruses on our website, and it seems that it indirectly or directly led to payments not going through. So that's a big reason we've lost so many members. So Jen just sent you an email explaining it and telling you the process to check your membership to make sure you're active, and if you've gone inactive, how you could reactivate. So definitely go check your email now. So I want to get into it. We'll get back into the people that Biden is surrounding himself. But the neoliberal line was Heroes Act is amazing because it gives money for states and local governments, which they say is desperately needed. When I say they, the Democratic Party is saying that's desperately needed. It continued this unemployment. The Democrats wanted it at $600 a week. In fairness, that $600 a week did keep a lot of people afloat. But the problem was it was a bureaucratic mess for a lot of people to actually receive it. And then there was other things, PPP program extension, contract tracing, all those things. But I think what Biden is talking about, which is basically pushing the HEROES Act through, is one part of the puzzle. And I think it's inadequate. The other part is, what is Joe Biden and the Democratic Party going to do about the long-term unemployment disaster afoot? I mean, if you look at the numbers, you have almost 5 million people in September. So I didn't look at the numbers in October yet. Over 5 million people in September were unemployed for 15 weeks or more. Then you had 2.5 million were unemployed for 27 weeks or more. I don't know. The Labor Department says 27 weeks or more is long-term unemployed. I don't know. That seems arbitrary to me. To me, if you've been unemployed for 15 weeks or more, that's long-term unemployment. But the bottom line is we're headed towards 7 to 10 million people that have been unemployed long-term. We're heading into the dark winter with COVID. And frankly, even when that vaccine is distributed, you know where we live. We're not in a country. We're in a corporation. A lot of these jobs aren't coming back even when there is a vaccine. So to me, okay, maybe the HEROES Act would be the short-term Band-Aid, but I see kind of a sequel to the financial crash of 2008 where a lot of these jobs don't come back, but the unemployment number might go down, so Democrats and Biden will declare the economy is improving.
Yeah, I think Joe Biden has proven, the people that he surrounded himself with, that they're not going to really do anything. There's a lot of people, to be fair, that are hoping that they can push him. Okay, there's a lot of people out there saying Biden's in his last lap, that he might be a legacy guy, that they're seeing cracks in the armor, that they're seeing movement and so forth. It is extremely possible that the simple numbers of COVID and the fact that we're already trending hockey stick wise up with more cases, looking at lockdowns once again, that's going to create a whole new set of long-term unemployed people with or without a vaccine. And the fact that we're heading into the winter months when we already have other illnesses that typically creep around during that time could create major, major economic chaos for the rank and file people. Forget the corporations. I mean, just Joe Public. And so my suspicion is that they don't really have an answer to any of these things. During their Unity platform with Sanders, economic advisors, et cetera, I previously told you that they've rejected a federal job guarantee. There has been proposals out there for nationalizing payroll. There has been a lot of movement. I mean, we had the ABC Act, which was something that Ron Gray had put forward with Rashida Tlaib, and that was to give people direct payments using EBT cards, et cetera. That hasn't seen the light of day. So there's an awful lot of inactivity and lack of what I consider to be a commitment to regular people to help them. I mean, we know empirically by the types of people that he's putting on his staff, the types of focus that he is going to have in terms of that economic pressure. And you can only hope that the AOCs of the world, Rashida Tlaib's and the whole squad actually push him. I don't think Biden's going to be pushed, to be perfectly honest with you, and I see no meaningful legislation. Now, you said something very specifically about the payments to the states, and let me just say this. States are very much cash strapped, and they are very much revenue constrained by their taxes and the various investments that they have as bondholders at the state level. Everything from their pension programs to basic fundamental services, you name it, tied directly to tax receipts. With the economic activity crawling at the state level, it's very, very important that the states do get funding. Now, what that funding looks like, though, should be very different than what I suspect it will be, to your point, instead of the sweetheart deals to these non-essential things, it would be nice to see block grants given to the states with direct targets towards certain things that will make those states survive these tough times. Right now, I don't see that happening. It doesn't mean that it won't, but I don't see any movement whatsoever. I haven't heard of any bills out there that are recommending block grants to the states. And this HEROES Act, to your point, is very, very, very inadequate. It needs to be significantly larger, because not only do we have to recoup the lost, monies for the people that have happened over the course of this time, and the debts they've incurred, but we also have to keep them going and afloat through that time as we lose more and more and more workers as they do shut this economy back down. There's no getting around it. You're already starting to see the states clamping down again. You're starting to see, again, the state of Pennsylvania. They're putting more restrictions on entry into buildings, more restrictions on wearing masks, more restrictions and so forth that are going to impact the economy. So without a really bold answer to that question, I don't see very, very good things happening, HEROES Act or not.
And something else, I mean, we don't have 5 hours to go through Obama's legacy, but Obama basically let, working people go belly up. He let the foreclosure crisis go unabated, basically because, Wall Street, in large part, funded his whole campaign. So we have a moratorium. It keeps getting kind of the can keeps getting kicked down the road. They keep extending the moratorium on evictions, this and that. But as you know, I mean, real estate developers, landlords, banks own a lot of these mortgages and things like that. Eventually, they're going to want their money, and Joe Biden works for them. The Democratic Party works for them. So short of hearing rent is going to be canceled from March to till vaccine distribution, not just the rent is canceled, but, you got to look out for the landlords. They're not all mega banks. So landlords too, their mortgage payments canceled, whatever. There's a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. And it seems very remnant of what Obama did. I'm not hearing any language from Biden or anybody on the team he's assembling. What are you going to do about these evictions? You could keep extending the moratorium, but let's say, best case scenario, vaccine is widely distributed in by April. You're going to have nearly a year's rent all due. Maybe they'll do some deals for tenants that you could pay it back over years. So you're going to have, on top of your student loans, a year's worth of rent. You got to start paying back every month on top of your current rent. So it just seems to me it's not a matter of if there's going to be a mass eviction crisis, which leads to homelessness and all other things. It's just when. And I'm not hearing. I don't know any other way other than you either cancel the rent or you do what Europe's doing, and you give direct UBI and or have government cover the payrolls so these people can still pay their rent.
Yeah, what I'm very concerned about is, recently in the Wall Street Journal, they were already setting the stage for this is just a natural course of business. This is just a natural flow of the business cycle. These things happen, they retrench, the people go bankrupt, they give up their land, the investors come in, they buy it up, they do this stuff, and it's just a natural way of things, right? And I believe that, unfortunately, many of your listeners, my listeners, the average voting American has no concept of the power of the federal government to alter that cycle. And because of that, they accept this idea that, there's just nothing we can do about it. And they really believe that because they're hell-bent in believing that somehow or another the government's broke and it can't do these things. And it's that paradigm right there. I speak to it frequently, but it's that paradigm right there that is literally keeping us in chains. And they're going to play to that. Biden will play to that. I mean, he said in various forums that we have the money, we have the money, we have the ability, we have the money. He says these things, but then you don't see any of the real follow-up in terms of policy, bold policy proposals, nothing. And my fear here is that because we don't believe it, we don't understand that the federal government creates money every time it spends. We're just so accustomed to the government not having any money to pay us, to give us anything good in our lives. We're so used to getting the shit kicked out of us that we accept that. We're just used to being dumped on, and we take it. And I think that until we accept the fact that our government can, in fact, and must, in fact, fix these things, we aren't going to demand of a Biden administration. We aren't going to be able to force them left. We aren't going to be able to do anything like that because the people won't make those demands themselves. And until they make those demands themselves, Biden will appeal to the people that are making the most noise. And that is not just my kids upstairs, but that's also these Wall Street folks that want their money, like you said.
One day I'll get it right. I was muted. Hold on. Hold on. Delay. Sorry about that. What I was saying is, you look at the things he said in his economic speech yesterday, which dare I say was a little low energy. He basically was saying, we won't hand out government contracts to companies that offshore jobs. Okay, well, Obama said there was going to be no lobbyists in his administration. That lasted for about 15 minutes. So then he says, as part of his Build Back Better plan, they're going to give incentives to companies that make in America. We've heard this too from previous Democratic administrations. But on the other end, you and I were talking. I didn't hear CNBC or anybody pick this up. But at the end of his speech, he was asked a question, I think by a financial reporter, about not the TPP, a different trade deal that is going through right now that involves China. And he was giving some language, Steve, that made me think, you give this guy a couple days, maybe a month, they'll change some sentences, move some commas, and say, we renegotiated the TPP. It's now more fair to labor and environmentalists, and this is a badly needed trade deal right now as the economy is free-falling. And they're going to ram TPP in, which maybe you could explain, because it's not a sexy topic, but remember when Ed Schultz was still with us, RIP, he was fired from MSNBC basically for being the only anchor on MSNBC that would speak out against the TPP. Could you kind of explain to the audience, were you reading what Biden said yesterday in his plan, in his speech, similar to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the bottom line is that, we're fooling ourselves if we want to believe that Biden is not a globalist, a neoliberal globalist enabler. And he was definitely speaking to the fact that we can't allow China to be the only one. It's like echoes of Obama. We can't allow China to be the only one controlling commerce, blah, blah, blah. And so, yes, Biden is absolutely prepping to have some sort of a trade deal. This is going to be key because that is neoliberal economic policy. They can put all the, we're going to protect workers, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But that's what Obama said. That's what Clinton said with CAFTA and NAFTA. That's what each of them say. It's what they always say. And the fact of the matter is that, we won't know until we see it. But exactly what you said is exactly how I interpreted it. I mean, first of all, again, it's very important to understand that neoliberals are now going to be fully just completely enmeshed in our government, and there's nothing we can do about it short of resist and expect it and fight back. That's really all we got. And so you can expect a TPP-like deal coming anytime now.
It's very disconcerting, and the human toll here. I don't have the video right now, but I just saw the other day there was like lines down the highway in Texas. It looked like a hurricane where people are literally down the highway, on lines for gas or something like that. Lines down the highway in Texas for food. We're seeing food banks all over the country. You're basically seeing small business owners saying, "Fuck it, I have to risk my life," and staying open because the PPP program was totally inadequate. Frankly, a lot of that PPP money got raided. Money meant for small businesses went to swine like the judge on Shark Tank, who's a multimillionaire. Other donors got PPP money that should have never been eligible. So to me, even if you wanted to play devil's advocate and say, well, Biden doesn't have a wand, maybe he's not as progressive as you and Steve, but give him some time. Well, the bottom line is why it's the same principle for why can't we be like other countries that give universal health care? Why aren't we doing what Europe's doing? It seems that Europe sees the magnitude of the crisis and is meeting that magnitude with the appropriate response, which is we don't need this whole bureaucratic mess of multiple programs, PPP program, unemployment, all these things. The government can print money. That's what MMT is about. The government could just print the money, and isn't this the time to put the neoliberal narrative? And it would be good, by the way, for Wall Street, which runs the country. It would be good for Wall Street to print the money so that everybody would have UBI. Small business owners could stay open. Why do you think it is that, we don't know because he's not in there yet, but he has said nothing about either direct stimulus payments, direct, not checks once a month, but monthly. He said nothing about that, and he said nothing about his advice. He has a COVID advisor who kind of vaguely said if we have to have a lockdown, maybe we would cover payrolls, but that was the most I've heard of the government covering payrolls. Why won't they do that if it would be beneficial for their donors?
Well, it's about power too, right? So when we look at money is not what these people are dealing in. They're dealing in land. They're dealing in resources. They're dealing in real wealth. The cash is nice. It's king. For us, we the people that flourish in this economy or drown in this economy. But for those people, it's about ownership. It's about power. It's about being able to make decisions and calls. And by leaving us desperate and allowing them to have control and retrench into that, they can resell those things on the cheap. They can resell the world on the cheap. Everything that we lose when the economy goes bad, they come in and buy, and then they resell it back to us at a different price, right? So they get to make money no matter which way they go. And Jamie Dimon is famous for saying that, hey, these recessions and depressions, they're really bad for Jane and Joe Public, but they're pretty good for us over here at JP Morgan. And there's a reason for that. It's because they get to buy up everything and then resell it. And they get to set the market. They get to make the determinations of what happens and what doesn't happen. So much of this is based on them being able to create speculator markets, being able to have access to real resources on the cheap. And really, at the end of the day, it's about the business cycle benefiting capital once again and leaving the people out to dry. And Joe Biden is a servant of capital. He is, regardless of whether people want him to be a good guy or not. No amount of blue brain is going to change the fact that Biden is a lifelong neoliberal. And this is who he is. This is what he is. And Harris is a Clinton devotee, sycophant, whatever you want to call her. She is one of the people right on the heels of Clinton, and they both share the same ideological view. So nothing will fundamentally change. He is a capitalist, and he is absolutely your standard Reagan Republican. And that doesn't serve them to spend on the people. It serves them to allow that natural business cycle to take place where people lose, business takes over, resells, and starts the economy back up again in that way. It creates opportunity through everyone's misery. And that's standard neoliberal, that's what they do. That's the neoliberal game plan, man. I wish I could say it was different, but people don't listen. They get swept up in the goodness of the D, and they forget that neoliberals are going to be neoliberals. It's not a matter of whether they're a Democrat or Republican. They're going to eat us for dinner, and that's pretty much what I'm afraid is going to happen.
And remember, we got almost 500 people watching, so smash the like button right under the video. Thumbs up. More people that press the like button, we can get this audience much higher. So let's move from Biden to the Republicans, because I think it's all connected. Unless the Democrats win both of these runoffs in Georgia, which I think is unlikely, McConnell and his neck will maintain control. And I think McConnell, there's going to be a mad Hunger Games to maintain the 72 million votes that Trump got. Because if you're McConnell, what is a better proposition? Republicans maintaining most of those votes, or Democrats, when Trump is not on the ballot in 2024, getting 78 million votes? I think you're going to see a lot of people drop out when Trump is no longer the boogeyman on the ballot on the Democratic side. So you're going to have McConnell trying to block everything. The Republicans are suddenly going to have, a resurgence of, the debt fairy, and we can't keep spending money. We've spent too much. And I fear that we're going to have the same theater that we've had under Obama and others. Pretend if Biden, he ran on, I'm the one who could break through this partisan divide. I'm the one who could strike deals with Republicans. The fever will break, so to speak. But I think Biden's going to be able to throw up his hands and say, what can I do? Mitch McConnell is blocking everything.
Guaranteed. I mean, the lone potential salvation is that Biden came out and said he's got a Rolodex full of executive orders ready to roll to repeal some of the more egregious Trump acts, that he performed. So that's one lone yay rah moment right there that I think maybe could benefit us in some way, shape, or form. But I think honestly that the Republicans, unlike the Democrats, understand that being out of power can actually be a good thing. They have much more power to obstruct, and if you're a conservative, your goal is to maintain the status quo. You know what I mean? That's your goal, and so obstruction is as good as policy, right? They just want to be left alone in their mind, right, and keep the business cycle going. Well, they'll have that opportunity. It's not going to. They don't lose anything by being out of control. The Democrats, however, act like unless they have the White House, they're completely powerless. They can't do anything. I mean, we know what happened with Obama with the ACA, for example. He took the public option off the table before they even got started. There was a meeting, I think it was a month before the actual election, where he met with lobbyists, and they had already taken it off the table. Any kind of hand waving about, the Republicans, that's just not true. He had a supermajority and still didn't do anything with it. And so, I can only imagine, and it's already happening, by the way. I'm watching regular voters say, we can't expect much from Biden. He's got a Republican Senate to deal with. We can't expect much. But that didn't stop the Republicans from cramming things. That didn't stop the Republicans from fighting like tooth and nail for what they wanted at all.
Republicans would have got rid of Obamacare if not for McCain's, vote.
Absolutely. So my suspicion is that, the Republicans are happy either way. If Trump does lose, then what they'll do is for the next 4 years, they'll do what Bernie did, and they'll have Trump be in a perpetual running cycle. He'll be the thorn in the side of everyone. He'll be there keeping his minions going for the next 4 years. We didn't gain or lose. He's going to be even more powerful in a sense, out of power, with the freedom to just kind of continue this thing. This Trumpism, MAGA, is going to continue. And so my suspicion is that the Republicans understand that they can win both ways. And the Democrats, however, always go beta and give up the belly like a dog, whenever they're out of power. And they're already ready to tell you that the Republicans are going to block them. They can't get anything done. Woe is them. So my suspicion will be that nothing will fundamentally change. And I don't think it's much suspicion. Joe Biden said it directly.
And we got 500 people watching, so keep smashing that like button right under the video. Thumbs up. Share this live stream. Keep those super chats coming. We just got another one. Thank you, Green Party 2020, $4.99. Appreciate it. So let's talk about progressives because, I mean, as always, progressives like to fight each other and eat each other's own. You got kind of the Jimmy Dore school of thought, burn it all down. We need a new party. AOC, even the squad, he has criticisms of. And then you have, progressives and the squad and Bernie, which is let's keep chipping away. We've won seats in Congress in 2018, now 2020. We got Jamal Bowman coming in, Cory Bush, with the Democratic Party now having a narrow majority in the House because they're totally, a disaster and lost to Republicans. They were supposed to grow their House majority. They lost seats. Actually, that squad, so to speak, those 7 to 10 progressives, their votes actually start to get more powerful because if the Democratic Party in the House loses the progressives' vote, they don't have that majority because their majority was narrowed. What do you think? Because I've told my audience, I mean, I think it's, I think there's a better chance of me growing a six-pack by the end of the year than moving Biden left. So what can progressives do?
So, you spoke of Jimmy Dore and you spoke of the squad side, et cetera. And I think that we have to look at both angles here, right? I think that the Democratic Party has proven to us once and for all that they have more centrist numbers, that they're not going to go out to the streets. They're not going to be a part of a rally. They're just the older voters. They're voters that are just watch MSNBC, still Red Scare, fearful people. And they've got huge number. And that's why they were able to collapse the establishment around Bernie Sanders. I mean, Bernie was winning if nobody drops out of the race. But once Bernie drops, keeps going and the others drop out, you see that the centrist majority is a super majority in that party. I mean, we are a small group compared to what centrists are, unfortunately. And you look at all the disaffected voters in the world, the people that have checked out that are no longer part of a party, and you start to see that there is a real opportunity for progressives to build a third party. So that said, I support any effort that applies pressure to the system that will allow us to do it. That said, people that are going to be passing legislation today, for those people that are going to die tomorrow, that may have COVID today, that are homeless or jobless or whatever, they need legislation now. They don't need your piety. They need legislation right the hell now. They need help right now. And unfortunately, there are no third parties right now passing legislation because they're not in power right now. So you got to have an inside-outside strategy because the inside isn't going to do anything without pressure from the outside. So I like to think of non-electoral energies to pushing for, real honest to God change in terms of, domestic policy, foreign policy, you name it. And so I think that progressives need to really be uniting around what it is that they want, not around the party per se, not around the personalities, but the actual things that they want. Medicare for all. You saw that the people that won the elections were people that supported Medicare for all. The people that didn't support Medicare for all lost the elections. And that's a fact, Jack. So if you start looking at what is a progressive and what does a progressive want, and we unite behind that and we punch anyone that goes against it. That's the thing. We punch anyone that goes against it. We don't defend Biden. We don't defend AOC even. If AOC is wrong, we recognize that she's wrong. And that's the only way that progressives are going to really be able to push anyone. This whole idea of, I'm okay, you're okay, we're okay, now let's go to brunch, that's cancerous. That's really, really bad stuff. So, while I have my issues with Jimmy Dore and I have my issues with the Dem-Enter strategy, I don't have issues with the platform that we all kind of want, regardless of which angle or strategy we're taking. And, I'm going to break out the commie card here for a minute. If you go back to Lenin, and what is to be done, and some of his writings back then, especially in the last chapters, he starts talking about a unified media, the ability to have propaganda, the ability to agitate. We've got to remember these things. We got to remember what it's like to unite on the issues, not on the parties. The parties divide us, unfortunately. And by being divided by party instead of being united on our principles and our values, regardless of whether we're thinking third party or thinking Democrat, I think that we lose. The only way we win is to unite around those issues and really start remembering what it's like to create a union picket line, to start remembering what it's like to actually bring commerce to a halt, to stop traffic, to stop things, and to make bold, direct action. Those days, a lot of union tactics are now illegal. They've made being a union very, very challenging. So the one thing I'd like to see is you see the public sector unions right now. Those public sector unions are very strong. The teachers union, the nurses. There's a bunch of different unions out there that really have some power to influence and to pressure and to push. Now, the question will be, will they push for the right things? Will those unions listen to their membership, or will they follow those leaders that take baths in the bathhouses of Washington, D.C. together? And so I think a lot of it's going to come down to non-electoral, strength in numbers, issue-oriented fighting. And that's, to me, the only way progress is going to be made, because the parties, there's no way we win it just in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is just not going to serve us in that way. It's just not. No matter how much we want it, it's just not without external pressures. So that's where Jimmy's strategy and the third party strategy and the whole concept there can work together. I do think that they tend to eat everything. They're like skimming every headline to find some fault with AOC, to find some fault with Omar and all of them. So to that extent, I understand you're talking about politicians that must make deals and negotiate with one another. And unfortunately, they're part of an apparatus that is an establishment apparatus. So they've got to play nicely within there. They have no power otherwise. That's the sucky thing. We don't have the numbers. No matter how much our attitude is there, no matter how much rage and outrage we have, we don't have the numbers in these representative positions. So until we develop the kind of strong backbone from like union-like tactics, I don't think we're going to see the kind of change. So progressives, we got some decisions to make. And to me, the one thing that we should all be able to unite around, period, the MMT mindset, the idea that the federal government can pay for it all, and they're lying to us. If we use that as the cornerstone for what we're fighting for, all of those programs, all of that stuff, all the straw man arguments that they throw at us about affordability go right out the window. And that is the entry point by which we can really, really attack each one of our things. A Green New Deal, Medicare for all, ending student debt, all those very important things, eliminating rent moratorium, rent cancellation, COVID payments, the temporary UBI, expanding Social Security, a federal job guarantee. All of that comes with understanding that the federal government can pay for it all. And if we start uniting around that core principle and stop, the private federal, shut up. Just get with the program and deal with the fact that we can afford it. We never talk about the private Federal Reserve when we bomb the hell out of Yemen and other places. Stop talking about it when we're trying to pay for healthcare. God damn it. I mean, just focus on what we can do. And that right there, that core principle, if we can do that, I think we can see some change, Jordan.
And give me a moment for a quick Status Coup PSA. Welcome new Status Coup member. We got Michael Lucas just signed up. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. Once I finish my interview with Steve, I'm going to explain, again, we need you to go check if you're a Status Coup member. We need you to go check to make sure your membership is active. We did get hacked. I'll talk about it once Steve and I wrap, but we do need you to check. You could do that. I'll show you real quick. Go to statuscoup.com. Let me show you. Statuscoup.com. Hover over Become a Member. And you click on subscriptions here. And that way, once you click on subscriptions, it should show you, hold on, you should see under active, it's either going to say yes or no. If it says no, click resubscribe, because as a result of being hacked, a lot of our payments didn't go through. To be clear, your financial information is safe. Our web developers assure us of that. But because we had viruses in our system, the actual payments for a lot of members, we're talking potentially 200 to 300, didn't go through. So definitely go right now, statuscoup.com. Click on over become a member, click on subscriptions, and then check if your subscription is active. If you have any problems trying to reactivate, you can email us, info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com, if you have any problems. So, Steve, I'm a little mad at you because you literally just stole my next question. I was going to say, Steve, listen, ain't my first rodeo. I've been around the country for 5 years. I don't want to minimize what Black Lives Matter is doing. I don't want to minimize what Fight for 15 or Climate Sunrise Movement or any of these people are doing. But at a certain point, you kind of got to read the tea leaves. We could all march around till we're blue in the face. We could march for blocks, for cities, and keep on marching, and the capitalist plutocracy will wait us out. As long as we're not marching around their yachts, as long as we're not marching around, their summer vineyards, as long as they are, cocooned, they live in their cocoon and we're not disturbing them, they'll say, all right, let them march. The police will bash their heads in. It'll last for 6 months, and that will be that. So I've been saying, and you said a little bit of this in your last answer, the progressive movement, I don't care if it's Dem Exit, Dem Enter, Movement for a People's Party, take over the Democratic Party, whatever it is, whatever faction. Progressive movement needs not only to have bodies on the ground, not only bodies outside the White House protesting, but you got to start protesting with your wallet. And we haven't seen that since maybe the 1950s and 60s when there was organized labor was the backbone of the Democratic Party, and organized labor was a huge force. So we could get concessions from corporate CEOs, corporate America. But the Republicans and, frankly, Bill Clinton and Democratic accomplishments have destroyed organized labor. So, to me, I would like to see progressive groups. We know they're not going to go back to sleep under Biden. They're already showing that. But where is the economic protest component in terms of, can we get enough people to strike against Amazon? Not just for a day. Let's start for a week. Maybe we could broaden it. What about fast food companies? What about big banks? What about expanding divestment campaigns? This is the only way Joe Biden is going to move left, because the only way you get any politician to move left is to threaten the real rulers, their donors. Your thoughts?
I think that, we don't like to talk about violence, and, it's usually the first thing we go, oh, no, can't possibly do that. And I'm not here to advocate for violence. But I do think that the kind of disruptions and agitation that have to occur have to be substantive. They have to be forceful, and they have to be pointed and specific. They can't just be kind of loosey-goosey. And whatever that takes, I'm not going to describe a specific action that I think should or should not take place. But I will tell you that the more timid we are in our demands, the less likely we are to get them met. And I really think it's very important that we get past some of our Red Scare fears and start looking at how labor once used to unite back in the Industrial Revolution. There's lessons there to be learned. All of Europe, the Soviet Union didn't exist at the time. It was just Russians, and the labor forces talked to one another. They discussed theory. They discussed praxis. They discussed tactics. They had underground channels. They operated as a system, as an organization, as a group of people that were fighting back. And of course, you had the Social Democrats of the time who were always ready to make peace with capital, et cetera. But in reality, you look at labor as a whole, and they were very, very serious. They were committed. I think that we need to really examine our history, dig deep and find times where it's been successful, and start trying to model some of those behaviors, because otherwise this whole loosey-goosey, I'm okay, you're okay, sitting in the basement hanging out kind of stuff, that isn't going to get us a Green New Deal. That's not going to get us health care. It really isn't. And all the likes and shares and all the other social media stuff is definitely not going to win the day. It's going to require some form of unified action. And I hope that people start taking a real hard look at that, because without it, we really don't stand a chance.
And my last question, everybody seems to think like, oh, duh, of course the vaccine's going to be free. not so fast. I was told that coronavirus testing would be free, and I just paid a $100 copay for a coronavirus test. We were told that treatment for coronavirus would be mostly free. Then you see horror stories of, people getting, in the hospital for coronavirus treatment for 2-3 weeks. They got $1 million bill. Theoretically, the vaccine should be free, but you know what country we live in. Do you think that this will be widely distributed and completely free for all Americans?
We'll see. I think that there are, if you listen to the folks that are anti-vax, which I don't, by the way, but if you do, there's a whole control factor there that they're very concerned about. And you know what? I'm not stupid enough to completely write everything that they say off. I'm not anti-vax, though, so to be crystal clear. So I think that there is some potential there. If you're just keeping yourself reasonably alert, not overly doing it, but just keep yourself in a reasonable space, there is something to be said for control. The flip side to that is that I think that it makes sense that the federal government will pay for this. Do I think it'll be completely free? I don't know. Just like any other vaccine, I mean, this is an emergency. They're shutting the economy down. It's very possible it could be free. When I say free, it won't be free. Somebody will pay for it. It just won't be us, hopefully. I have a feeling that this will become a government sanctioned thing. I think that the pressure will be just too great to allow it to be a pay-for thing.
And I lied. One more. It's interesting to me. Joe Biden won, so all of a sudden, Russia didn't interfere with the election. There's no. I don't hear anything about Russia interfering with the election. It's like the Russian threat has suddenly disappeared.
We went from the worst, most horrible elections possible to suddenly they're all above board. Everything's perfect. Hunky-dory, in fact, right? Yeah, I mean, anybody that bought into the Russiagate stuff, I feel for you, because that means that you're like one of those people that hangs on to Rachel Maddow and just sort of listens and eats that stuff up. And I feel bad for you. But then again, we are the most propagandized country in the world. So it's very hard for me to get too angry at the population for being clueless about so much and believing things. They've got a very limited amount of time that they can invest in learning. And unfortunately, the people that they're supposed to be able to trust are untrustworthy. So, yeah, Russiagate was pretty funny. In retrospect, it's a complete I can't even imagine how it stuck at all, personally, other than the propagandized world that we're in. But yeah, clearly it's just vanished, hasn't it?
It's maddening. But I'm sure, if the Democrats lose these 2 runoffs in Georgia, I'm sure maybe they'll resurrect it. Where can people find out more and check out Real Progressives?
Yeah, please come to our website, www.realprogressives.org. Please check out my podcast, Macro, the letter N, cheese. It is 94 episodes in, and it is, I promise you folks, it is better than The Queen's Gambit. It's really good. It's better than a binge on Netflix. I've put everything I've got into this, and our team has put everything we've got. We have the experts. Please check out this podcast. I promise you it's worth your time. And also, find us on YouTube and find us on Rockfin and Twitter, you name it. So please do follow us, but please do check out the podcast. It's worth it. And thank you, Jordan, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And yes, definitely, I think we saw it in the primary when corporate media just literally carried Joe Biden's politically dead carcass over the line, which is why it's more important than ever to support independent media. Whether it's us, whether it's Steve, if you can support more than one outlet, definitely do it. Because, if we're going to win progressive, the war for progressive legislation, you also have to win the information war. And that's a whole other topic. So thank you, Steve. We'll have you back soon.
Got it, man. Thanks, Jordan. Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. So that was Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives. Always love talking to Steve. He's great. And I think he's one of the few that actually talks about modern monetary theory. out there in the country. So definitely check out Real Progressives. Before I get to the next, I do have one more story. Thank you, Al. $10. Like Motel 6, keep the lights on for us. I am. I'm not leaving yet. Also, we have some great donations coming in from GoFundMe. We definitely right now, after we were hacked, we need to offset a lot of the losses we've had recently. So thank you, Andrea, $25, Glenn, $10, Catherine, $50. Thank you so much. Maya, $20, Abasi, $5, Anonymous, $8, Alfredo, $50, Janice, $200. Whoa! Michael, $20, Nettie, $25, Kathleen, $27, Rebecca, $25, Randy, $40. So keep it coming in the GoFundMe. And real quick, before I get into the next story, for those of you that weren't here yesterday, for those of you who haven't read your email yet, read your email. Before I went live, Jen sent an email. If you're on our email list, you should have got an email from us. If you don't see it, check your spam, because sometimes they go to spam. The Cliff Notes version. The Cliff Notes version. This is how many members we've lost since April. I can't do math that well, but that's, close to 350. We thought it was because of COVID, but unfortunately it accelerated a lot, even in the last 2 weeks. This was where we were at in Philadelphia about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And this is where we're at right now. So we've lost about 130 members in a week and a half. So we started telling the audience, something doesn't feel right here. This doesn't seem to be only related to the coronavirus and people canceling because of the economy. It just doesn't make sense. You don't lose over 100 members in a week. So fortunately, we had a viewer who's also a web developer, Anthony Damasco, reach out to us, and he looked in the back end of our website and found that we had been really badly hacked. The original hack was in October 2019. Just coincidentally, October 2019 was when Jen and I were in Flint investigating, and documents from the criminal investigation were leaked to us back then, and that was the month that we were hacked. Isn't that coincidental? And we were in Flint in October 2019, and this is the story we eventually broke from that investigation. This broke in, April for Vice. So, that's 6 months later. That's a whole nother story that it took that long. But anyway, we've been speaking with Anthony every day, every morning, and we strongly believe that a lot, as many as 200 to 300 of our members didn't actually cancel, but were incorrectly made inactive, meaning their payments didn't go through, or for whatever reason, the viruses that were infecting our site stopped the payments. It seems like it has mostly affected people that signed up as a Status Coup member through Stripe. People had two options, PayPal or Stripe. It seems like it has mostly affected those people who signed up via Stripe. As I explained yesterday, as Jen explained in the email, your financial information is secure. That was not hacked or anything like that. Our website doesn't even store your financial information. That's stored with Stripe and PayPal. However, already after we gave you the direction yesterday, we've seen between 10 and 15 people reactivate, meaning they went and looked. They thought they were a member, but it said they were inactive, and they're reactivated. So we, fingers crossed, have reason to believe we might have as many as 200 to 300 people reactivate. We're hoping that were wrongly purged. Going forward, this is not going to happen again because we are keeping Anthony on retainer. That's going to be expensive, but we really don't have a choice. We need to routinely monitor our website, and Jen and I are not tech experts to do it. We didn't have the money in the beginning of Status Coup to hire a tech team or anything like that. But now, after we realized we were hacked and we saw that over 100 viruses were put into our system, we're going to have to make sure we have a tech team 24/7. So, and by the way, Anthony, the web developer, said, hacks are not abnormal. There's hackers all over the internet, but most of the time it's random. What he found was the sequence seemed to indicate it was intentional, specifically targeting us and our site. So please, 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 if you have signed up before as a Status Coup member in the past and you did not cancel your membership, please, either now or after I sign off, go to statuscoup.com, right there, hover over Become a Member, right here. Let me zoom in. And then click on Subscriptions here. We added that Subscriptions tab. That should bring you to this. That should bring you right here to this. It will show you what your membership was, Status Slayer or Coup de Champion or the other two, whichever one you signed up for. We have $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, or $179 annually. If it says you're active, yes, no problem. You don't have to do anything. If it says no, and you didn't cancel and still want to be a member, which we hope you do, there should be a resubscribe button, which is pretty, after you click it, it's pretty straightforward from there how to resubscribe. In some cases, there might be a bunch of different options, including cancel. If the only option isn't resubscribe and you have a bunch of options, including cancel, you're going to have to cancel your membership and then sign back up brand new like you did the first time. To be clear, again, this was a hack. We believe we know that the hack infected us with over 100 viruses. It seems like it was intentional, and it seems like either directly or indirectly, payments weren't going through because of this virus. So we really, really hope. I mean, we are a small startup. We were making huge, huge gains. This was in March. That's the last primary we covered, Michigan. We were almost at 2,000 members, and that's what we're at right now. Well, we're a little higher than that now. This was made yesterday. But, I mean, we've lost a lot of members, and this is a survival issue for us. We can't continue we have to regain a lot of those members because membership is our model. We do make some money from YouTube, but paid membership is our core model. We are a business. We're a progressive business. We take no money from the banks, fossil fuckers, big pharma, big real estate, military-industrial complex, Silicon Valley. We take money from people at $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, $179 annually, or $179 annually. So we're really, really hoping that people will look. If you see you're inactive, please try to resubscribe if you didn't intend to cancel. We're also throwing some other things out there. People have expressed interest in, some people that are just on tough times right now, want to be a member but can't be a member for $5 a month. Jen and I are discussing possibly a lower level so that everybody can participate financially, even at a lower level. The other thing, just to spread it out, it is clear now, if you've never been a member, you can sign up brand new. Anthony has fixed everything in the background, so we have no more viruses. Everything is working smoothly. We're still trying to figure out where the virus originated from, because that would be one hell of a story if it originated from where we think it did. But you can sign up brand new. We've already had, let me check how many new members we've had so far since I've been live. We've had 2 new members signing up brand new. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Michael, for joining the coup. So you could do that by going to statuscoup.com/join. And as part of membership, you'll get to join us in our members-only Discord. You'll also get to join us for our members-only monthly call. I'm sure we will be talking on our members-only monthly call about this hack and giving you guys a little bit more information that I haven't publicly disclosed. We're probably, I think, going to have that members call, what's today, Tuesday? Either at the end of this week or early next week. So we'll keep you posted on when November's member call will be. But definitely sign up. And in the short term, listen, I get it. The economy is, it's very rough for a lot of people right now. The bottom line is, because of this loss in membership, which we believe was people wrongly being made inactive, we've lost thousands of dollars in revenue a month. So that's why we're trying to build back. We're trying to reactivate those members. So in the short term, since yesterday, we've had amazing support. I think we've raised over $1,000 since yesterday after we told you guys about this hack. We got to raise more because we have to offset the losses we've had in membership until we could. I mean, it's not going to be a one-day thing. Jen and I have a long list, and we're going to have to now individually email a lot of these members that we think were incorrectly purged. So please, if you can, pitch in any amount. We appreciate it at the GoFundMe. It would be a great, great help. And that's it. Unfortunately, I'll probably have to, do this kind of announcement for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, just to keep reminding people. But we really appreciate it. This really is a coup community, and we appreciate all the people that have been expressing support to us after we announced this yesterday. And if you have problems troubleshooting, if you have problems, if what I told you to do doesn't work for you, email us, info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com if you have a problem, and we will troubleshoot with you. So I want to get to North Dakota. For those of you who recall, in my old days, I froze my little tushy over at Standing Rock in 2016 and 2017 to show you what American fascism looks like. And in Standing Rock, you had the North Dakota, specifically Morton County Sheriff's Department. As I keep those super chats coming, I'll read the ones I missed in a bit. You had the Morton County Sheriff's Office, basically, shooting grenades at Native Americans and environmental activists who were unarmed, freezing water, tear gas, pepper spray, all sorts of horrific things in service of a private oil company. So the police, they obeyed their orders in service to a private oil company, which is corporate fascism at its finest. And then, adding insult to injury, if you remember back to the Standing Rock days, the Trump administration reimbursed the police department, the North Dakota Morton County Sheriff's Office. They reimbursed their law enforcement costs, overtime, equipment, all that, for beating the living shit out of Native Americans and environmental activists. So the government basically covered the expenses for this fascism in service of big oil. Okay? So on one end, the North Dakota police, paid for by the taxpayers, by the way, were happy to obey orders from above in deference to private oil. But when the North Dakota governor issues a mask mandate, by the way, the North Dakota governor is Republican. North Dakota is as red as they come. Here is a local sheriff responding to the North Dakota governor mask mandate, as North Dakota has been just overtaken by COVID. It is insane right now in North Dakota and South Dakota in terms of COVID cases. Private oil, big oil, no problem. We'll obey your orders. We'll beat up protesters. We'll shoot grenades. A 21-year-old nearly lost her arm because they shot a grenade at her back at Standing Rock. But here is the McKenzie County Sheriff's response to the North Dakota governor about the mask mandate. In response to the mask mandate that has been put out by the state, Governor Burgum stated he wanted law enforcement to prioritize education in their enforcement, providing warnings and education about the risk of transmission, and reserving penalties for the most egregious violations that put the public health at risk. The McKenzie County Sheriff's Office will not be enforcing any mask mandates, and we will not be enforcing mandates on businesses. We feel that to do so takes away from your liberty to live freely under the Constitution of the United States. As residents of North Dakota, our preamble states, quote, "We, the people of North Dakota, grateful to the Almighty God for the blessings of civil and religious liberty, do ordain and establish this Constitution." Under that section, one states that we are independent and free. As such, we should be free to choose for ourselves if we will wear a mask or not wear a mask. As sheriff, I believe the Constitution and Declaration of Independence say it best that we should each be free to govern ourselves as a state and as a nation. To that accord, this mandate is not a law that we have passed or desire to see passed. With that established, the McKenzie County Sheriff's Office will not be enforcing any such mandate. Oh boy, Where do you begin? Where do you even begin, folks? And let me get the numbers just to give you the completely updated numbers. Where's my COVID tracker? COVID tracker. Yesterday in America, we had 149,000 cases, 581 deaths. So deaths were a little bit down, but cases are still through the roof. You've been seeing 150,000, 160,000 cases over the last week. And in one case, one day, I think it was closer to 170,000 cases. But yesterday, you had 153,000 cases. Let me look just at North Dakota, where this fakakta sheriff apparently, believes freedom to act like an idiot and not wear a mask. The right to do that apparently outweighs the right to live for those that do care about living more than the tyranny of wearing a mask. If you look at North Dakota, let's see. Yesterday, they had over 1,000 cases in North Dakota. Deaths at 7. But the point, what we've seen with COVID across the country, it takes a while for the deaths to start catching up to the cases. So you see in North Dakota, they're up 21% in terms of cases over the last 2 weeks. They're up 27% among deaths. That death count is going to start increasing because it takes a little while. Once cases are identified, it takes a while for things to get really bad and, frankly, for people to die. So what's amazing to me, and just to be clear, this is not the same sheriff. This is not the same county as Standing Rock. So in the terms of Standing Rock, that was Morton County Sheriff, who was very quick and very, very eager to obey a private oil company's orders. The Morton County Sheriff was basically serving as the protective police force for Big Oil. If you remember, President Obama, his Department of Homeland Security, his U.S. Marshals, his FBI was working at the time with the Morton County Police and North Dakota troopers to infiltrate the camp of water protectors, to insert moles, FBI moles in the camp, to surveil the camp. So everybody got very, up in a tizzy that Donald Trump sent federal troops into Portland. Rightly so. We should have been upset. The same people that were outraged at that didn't say a goddamn thing when Obama's federal troops were working with North Dakota state officials to surveil and, frankly, attack peaceful protesters. So that was Morton County Sheriff. This is a different county. But the bottom line is, it's all the same. It's North Dakota law enforcement. Look at those priorities. So the North Dakota police, Morton County Sheriff, in 2016 and 2017, they didn't care at all about the constitutional rights of Native Americans, of environmental activists that came from around the country, and by the way, the world, to protest at Standing Rock on behalf of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, on behalf of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, on behalf of the Oglala Sioux, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing, tribe. They didn't care about those protesters' constitutional rights. Remember they called them eco-terrorists? You're an eco-terrorist for banging drums, dancing, singing, and peacefully protesting against literally a ticking time bomb, a crude oil pipeline going underneath the longest river in the United States, the Missouri River, which served drinking water downstream to 20 million people. Not to mention the desecration of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's ancestral burial grounds, their reservation. This was going right through their reservation. It's interesting that the North Dakota police didn't give a flying fuck, excuse my French, swear jar, didn't give a flying fuck about people's constitutional rights then. But now, in a different county, they're literally disobeying the governor of the state, a Republican. They're disobeying a Republican governor's mask mandate because they care very much about the constitutional freedoms of people not to wear a mask. This is culture war on steroids. And you know who I blame? Donald fucking Trump. I've never had Trump derangement syndrome. I got shit for the last 4.5 years for not covering him 24/7. But this psychosis, this don't tread on me. I would rather die than wear a mask. This masks becoming the new guns, this came from the top. You know this is a cult that follows Trump. You know that in March and April, if Trump would have acted like a strongman, if Trump would have worn a mask, if Trump would have attacked people who won't wear masks as socialists and communists and tore them down, every one of those fuckers in North Dakota and South Dakota and all these states that won't wear masks would be following their fearless leader. Is he responsible for coronavirus? No. Did a lot more people die because this president was out to lunch in March and April? He didn't want to do a goddamn thing about this, as he told Bob Woodward on tapes that were later released. I wanted to play it down all along. This is why you have radical sheriffs like this in North Dakota. This is why you have radical public officials all over the country now defying mask mandates, partly to rise in their own political profile and, capitalize off of Trumpism and, look like they're leading some new civil rights movement against masks. But they're all following Trump. And frankly, who's going to die? Who's going to suffer? These same fucking idiots in North Dakota that are refusing to wear the masks. I'm not here to tell you wearing a mask is 100% foolproof. In April, I got coronavirus, and I had worn a mask when I went outside. So it's not 100% foolproof, but there's study after study after study that says if you wear a mask, your chances of spreading the virus or contracting it go down as much as 70%. I asked the Trump supporter, is wearing a seatbelt tyranny? We all agree wearing a seatbelt, because wearing a seatbelt doesn't 100% stop. I mean, if your car flips over or you get hit by a Mack truck, you could die. You're likely to die wearing a seatbelt or not. But it certainly gives you a better chance than not wearing a seatbelt. Why is this any different? Do you know right now, for example, I'm not going to go into detail, but Jen and I are working on a massive story, okay? We have to go somewhere for this story. That would involve driving a far distance. Right now, I'm not going to do that because cases are way too fucking high. It's not definite that I can't recontract coronavirus. And if I did recontract coronavirus, I might be asymptomatic this time and pass it off to my wife. So right now, it is not safe to go. So we can't report. We can't go out and dig into this story. That is very, very important. If everybody in the state that I want to go to would fucking put on a mask, cases would go significantly down. My example is just one example. How many small businesses are having to go under because people won't wear a mask and it's spreading all over their community? I mean, how many medical professionals are at risk right now because people won't wear a mask? It is insane. And frankly, this sheriff should be put in jail in North Dakota. He is disobeying the duly elected governor. He's a Republican. I ain't a fan of him. I think his name is Doug Burgum. I'm not a fan about him. But he's disobeying the duly elected governor, talking about constitutional freedoms to act like an asshole and not wear a mask. Put that motherfucker in jail. You don't get to just disobey the governor of the state because you want to selectively apply the Constitution so that you protect people not wearing a mask, when 4 years ago, the same police officer didn't give a goddamn worry about Native Americans' constitutional rights to protest, about environmental activists' rights to protest. Very, very interesting, the different standards for constitutional concerns. And by the way, the person that asked about cover Trump withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, I covered it yesterday. We just posted the video this morning. I credited him. I don't care what his motivation is. When he deserves credit, he deserves credit. And he should pull all of the troops out of Afghanistan and Iraq. He's only pulling 2,000 out of Afghanistan and 500 out of Iraq, but some is better than none. So I give Trump credit. I mean, maybe he's doing it to screw Biden or piss on the warmongers and the neocons. So be it. A good thing is a good thing, even if it's Donald Trump doing it. But honestly, why this is so concerning because this is bigger than just this one sheriff. Okay? Why this is so concerning is because this lunacy about masks, you don't think that's going to extend to the vaccine? You don't think a lot of these Trump people who are basically corona truthers in the first place are going to refuse to take the vaccine? Which means we could take the vaccine. One, Pfizer says theirs is 90% effective. Moderna, I think, is almost 95% effective. But that doesn't mean it's not going to continue spreading if 20, 30% of the population. Why would the vaccine be any different than the mask? If they think it's a joke, if they think it's impinging on their freedoms to wear a mask, why are they going to suddenly be like, yes, but I need the vaccine? I'm telling you, I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a scientist. But I do think that if a sizable part of the population won't be vaccinated, even if the majority is vaccinated, you're still going to have remnants of this virus. And by the way, from what we're finding out in research, coronavirus mutates, and there's different strands. So I just think it's outrageous. This isn't like a Republican issue, a Democratic issue. This is a fucking blinking common sense issue. And frankly, sheriffs like this in North Dakota, there's been other public officials across the country that are, acting like leaders, refusing mask mandates and all this. They wouldn't be doing this without Trump. And to tell you the truth, I mean, right now, Trump seems to be, either golfing or laying in bed eating cheeseburgers, tweeting out conspiracies. Do we really think Trump is going to encourage his people, once he's out of office, to wear masks? Do you think Trump is suddenly going to flip? Do you think Trump might not completely flip? Right now, he's taking credit for Operation Fast Track with the vaccine going on. You don't think once he's out of office, he might be singing a different tune about people being vaccinated? This is Donald Trump. His mentality is staying in the news, even if it's pushing birther conspiracies, even if it's pushing or flip-flopping on vaccines. I'm telling you, this is a slippery slope. I think you're going to have more people making more sheriffs, more mayors, more people that are in elected office and in the media be making masks into the new civil rights issue of the 21st century. And that is going to lead to significantly more death, more disaster, and more carnage. And honestly, for what? For what reason? There is no reason for any of this. None. So, I don't do this calmly. I say put that sheriff in a prison cell. If he ain't going to enforce the law, because that's what the governor of the state is demanding, he should not be a public official, and he should be in jail. Period. And that goes for any other public official that defies this. And by the way, I'm not a fan of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I think she's done jack shit for Flint. I think she's another neoliberal, virtue signaling yes queen. But there was a, criminal conspiracy to assassinate her that in large part might have been motivated by Trump and his antagonism against her. And now you have Trump's loony coronavirus advisor, Scott Atlas, suggesting resist, because Whitmer is now putting in is now stepping up enforcement of shutdowns and things like that. This is how violence happens. This is how radicalization happens. This is how you take people that are depressed, anxious, economically scared, and give them some bad ideas in their head to take out the female governor of Michigan or to disobey the governor of North Dakota. This is how fascism grows. And it's outrageous. People, whether you're progressive, neoliberal, conservative, everybody should be against this kind of extremism. And that sheriff should be put in jail in North Dakota. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated on that. Let me read super chats because we're getting a lot of super chats today. With the viewers to drum up more members. Here are the super chats. Green Party $4.99. Bad Mama Jama $5. Love the show. Thanks again for having Steve on. He and the Real Progressive organizations are kicking butt. Maker of Things $2. Jimmy's school is just screaming, even for Tulsi. Yep. I don't agree with Jimmy on everything, but I think he's definitely covers things in a way that other people don't. Lana Del hates the clock. $25. Go Steve and Real Progressives. Go Status Coup. Better together. I agree. Thanks for the super chat. Gino $4.99. Join the Discord community, my friends. Yes, our Discord is poppin'. Alwaski $10. Like Motel 6. Keep the lights on for us. Jen, what do you mean? It might be worth it for you to skim through the emails with the viewers to drum up more. Okay, let me skim through emails because I am getting some emails from members that are apparently trying to reactivate. Let's see. Something scary. Hold on. Hi, Jordan and Jen. This does not work for me. I'll resend an email to you with screenshots of what I see. So here, Alan emailed us that he looked to see if his membership was active. It is inactive, but when he took the steps that we told him to take, it didn't work. So, Alan, thank you for emailing us. We'll get back to you and try to troubleshoot it with you because we definitely want to get Alan and the many, many other. Oh, that email. Okay. Let me read the email that we sent out earlier. Sorry, Jen. I got confused. That's what happens when you don't sleep. Hold on. So let me read the email that Jen sent out earlier. And if you didn't get it, go open it and get us out of your spam if we're in your spam. So Jen sent an email. Status Coup is a horrible announcement. Something was done to us. Hey there, if you watched yesterday's live stream with Jordan and me, then you already know what I'm going to say. Something very horrible has happened to Status Coup, and it was entirely on purpose. It's a long story, and here's the video explaining it in great detail. But the basics are this. From around March, we noticed a sharp decline in the number of dropped, canceled memberships. This was unusual for us, but we chalked it up to people have to cancel due to COVID and economic hardships. Only the number of dropped memberships started rocketing up to the point where Jordan checked the member number before he went for a walk and then after, and we lost over 30 members in that time. Yeah, I went on a walk for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I come back and we're down 30 members. It was ridiculous. Horrifying. We gave a plea on a live stream begging for people to toss us ideas on what could be happening, and we were lucky enough to have a viewer and web tech expert, Anthony Damasco, contact us. What he found was shocking. We were maliciously and purposely hacked. Yikes. Our jaws dropped when we discovered when we were hacked. It was right when we were working on our earth-shattering Flint story that exposed the former governor of Michigan and his henchmen for hiding information and letting people die knowingly and purposely. And we did expose it. That was the story we did for Vice. Now I want to make it clear that we have no idea who hacked us. And all we know is that there was intent here and that we have now lost hundreds of members who did not intend to leave us. And we have lost thousands of dollars that would have gone towards our in the field and investigative reporting. Your information is safe. Our website does not store your financials, to make that clear. And Anthony has cleaned everything up. This is not over as far as stopping the damage to our business and trying to recoup our losses, but we are at least putting the fire out. Here's how you could help Status Coup in this time of crisis. If you are already a member, please sign in and go to this link. And there's the link. Let me put this in the super chat for you. Ooh. So there's the link in the super chat. What does it say there? Are you active and all is well, or does it say you are inactive? If it says you are inactive and you didn't mean to be, click resubscribe, which is an option that should appear on that page. If there are several options on that right-hand side, first click cancel, refresh the page, and then click resubscribe. Note, whatever has happened to boot people off without their knowledge, it seems to mostly affect Stripe users. Like I said earlier, people, when you signed up, you could have either signed up via PayPal or Stripe. The problem seems to overwhelmingly be on the Stripe side. If you aren't a member and want to help, please join us as a member or as a patron. Both get you the same perks. For as low as $5 a month, you get amazing perks like access to our Discord server where we chat and share behind-the-scenes content, have Ask Me Anything member calls with Jordan and me, and other perks, including some in the works. It is safe for you to sign up, and we do not post your payment info. And will really help us out so we could keep our fearless reporting, even if the bad guys try to take us down. Join us, statuscoup.com/join. Let me put that in the super chat. If you'd like to help us recover our losses, we would really appreciate support in any amount via our GoFundMe fundraiser. We are going to be paying for an entire website revamp as well as keeping our new tech team on retainer. We also have other regular monthly costs. Jordan and I live on a small amount each month, and we have costs associated with reporting in the field and our investigations. Here's the link, and every amount helps, especially right now. So there's the link to the GoFundMe. All I got to say, like Jen said, I mean, we honestly don't fully know yet because we're actively going through to see how many members we've lost and how many actually canceled themselves versus were accidentally made inactive. It's possible we're down between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. It's a lot. It's a lot. And we've worked tirelessly 7 days a week to even get to the number we were at before this hack happened and before all these members were made inactive. For us, a couple $1,000s a month is a matter of survival. If we can't get back some of that money by reactivating those members that were purged, we're not going to be in this world long in terms of a media company. So please go check your memberships. If you have any questions, email us, info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. And we really appreciate the GoFundMe donations because it's helping offset the costs, offset the losses we've incurred by the inactive memberships. So we've passed $130,000 raised. Of course, like I always tell you, we don't actually have that much in the bank. That's how much we've cumulatively raised over the last 2.5 years since we launched this GoFundMe. But, you know, it's still amazing and impressive that we've raised this much. All the money coming from viewers. We had the largest was a $5,000 donation from a viewer. So keep it coming in the GoFundMe. We really appreciate it. And before I go, let me read comments, questions, concerns. Any questions you have about this? Any comments? Let it rip in the super chat. I like to think you would do it for free. I do. I don't know what we do for free. Going to donate as soon as my own funds come. Thank you so much, Natalie. We appreciate it. Hope to see you guys recoup this. The dang virus nonsense is ridiculous, but hey, first they laugh at you, then they hack you, then you know. You know what's really interesting? Again, we don't have like firm blinking red lights proof, but I'll tell you, we were in Flint, Michigan in October 2019. We didn't publicize that we were there because we didn't want the people that we were investigating, which were members of former Governor Rick Snyder's administration. We didn't want them knowing that we were looking into this. We didn't want them knowing that we were finding out about the criminal investigation into the Flint water crisis. We didn't want them knowing that we were finding out a lot of key details on the cover-up. We didn't want them knowing that criminal documents were leaked to us. So the fact that the original hack happened in October 2019, very suspicious to me. Because Anthony, our web developer, said this was a targeted attack. It wasn't a random, just your website got hacked by random hackers on the internet. It was malicious. They infected your site with over 100 viruses. So, you know, we were careful. We didn't publicize that we were there, but you never know. Based on the people we did speak with, it might have got back to former Governor Snyder's people who have an interest in making sure the truth about the Flint water cover-up never sees the light of day. So although we don't have proof, we do have our suspicions that it might have originated from there. So I don't want to get into what we're doing to look into this, but we are doing some things to look into it. What else we got? If they're after you, it means you're doing the right thing. Hey, be careful. My wife's watching. We don't want to scare her. They're not after. Nobody's after us. John, whether or not Jimmy stabbed at Tulsi, he had more than enough time to course correct and drop Tulsi. All right, people talking about Jimmy. What else do we got? Is your hack similar to the hacks of the DNC emails? Are you sure it wasn't an inside leak? Seth Rich. I don't think Russia hacked us, and I don't think it is linked to the DNC hack. No, I don't. Stepavin. Trump would have been better off winning because you might have got more progressive fighting against him. I don't buy that argument, to be honest with you. Good. I'm glad someone is recording my music. Okay. Probably Russian GRU agents. I don't know if I'm quite on Russia's radar yet. We'll see. This kind of coincidence smells more like corruption. It smells like something to me, Natalie. I agree. Podesta just gave his password, actually. Yes, that was never discussed in the corporate media, that John Podesta handed over his password. But Russia hacked him, right? Okay. Yes, so keep on donating to the GoFundMe. We really, really appreciate it. And I'm not being dramatic when I say we desperately need it right now. We need to raise as much money as we can to offset the thousands of dollars we have lost as a result of this hack. So if you can, please, 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 cherry on top, donate to the GoFundMe. What's it not saying? You have been on RT, so that makes me a Russian agent, my wife says. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's all I got. It was a leak. Smells like bean spirits. Whatever happened to Jordan's Sky News interview? That's a damn good fucking question. Sky News interviewed me, and I don't even know if it ever went up. That is a damn good question. By the way, for Status Coup people, a couple weeks ago, I covered that apartment complex in Queens that has had no gas. They still have no gas, meaning as it gets colder, they can't cook hot meals. This is a poor public housing unit. Predominantly black people live there. A documentary filmmaker reached out to me earlier, and they want to purchase the footage to use in their documentary. So that's awesome. It's not, we're not charging them that much, but it's a good thing. Some of our content's starting to get picked up. A couple outlets reached out to us. It was Air Jordan. We saw it. Okay, I didn't see it. Maybe you could show it to me, my lovely wife. A couple other outlets have reached out to us over the past weeks for, permission to use our clips from protest coverage. So the coup is spreading. The coup is spreading. And speaking of that, let me tell you, I don't know, folks. I don't want to jinx it, but we're almost at 98,000. Almost at 98,000 subscribers. So we've gone up almost 8,000 subscribers, really, over the last three weeks. I remember us just passing 90,000 right before the election. So we're knocking on 100,000. We got to keep the momentum going. So spread the coup, share these videos, tell your friends, tell your family, animals, press that subscribe button. We'd love to get to 100,000 lickety split, definitely before the year ends, before the new year. So keep subscribing, all those good things. Tentatively, we are still confirming it. Tentatively, I'll be interviewing Abby Martin tomorrow of Empire Files. She has an update in her lawsuit against the state of Georgia. If you don't know about that, she sued the state of Georgia because she was supposed to give a speech at a college, at a conference in Georgia earlier this year before COVID about the media and things like that. And the state of Georgia or the conference people, she'll explain it better than I, asked her to sign basically a pledge that she does not support the BDS movement against Israel. Obviously, Abby is reported in Gaza and elsewhere. She does support the BDS movement, but whether she supports it or not, she wasn't obviously going to sign a loyalty oath to a foreign country to get permission to speak at a conference. So she sued the state of Georgia, along, rabbis, the Jewish group J Street joined her lawsuit against this total infringement on her constitutional right of free speech. So there is an update on that. So I'll be speaking with Abby, I believe, tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll be talking about the CNN / Democratic Party / military industrial complex meltdown at Trump talking about removing 2,000 troops from Afghanistan and 500 troops from Iraq and other things we'll talk about. Abby's amazing on all things military industrial complex, foreign policy, and all those things. So definitely tune in tomorrow for that. And I will see you tomorrow. Please donate to GoFundMe. And pretty please, one more time. I'll show you one more time. Go to statuscoup.com. If you are a member, please go to statuscoup.com. Hover over the Become a Member. Click on Subscriptions. And when you click on Subscriptions, it should show you this. Should show you if your account is active or inactive. If it says no, you're not active, you should see resubscribe to the right. Click on resubscribe. Pretty straightforward from there how to resubscribe. If you don't see resubscribe, then you probably have a bunch of different tabs. Click the cancel tab. That will cancel your membership and just re-sign up like you did the first time. This would be the first and only time you have to do this. We've fixed the virus and all that. And Anthony's cleaning up our website. And if you have any questions about this, please email us, info@statuscoup.com. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.